For me, you know, I don't think you can get anywhere without sacrifice. You know, so my fuck it moment. At a certain point, I stopped doing jazz gigs with any jazz artist. So I would get calls all the time to play with other jazz artists as a sideman. Hey, can you play piano for me? And I said, I had to say no. I stopped doing that in 2005. You know, stopped playing with other jazz musicians because I wanted to make my own brand and I didn't want to be affiliated with any of the jazz musicians. So the only sideman gigs I would take would be with Mos Def, Q-Tip, Maxwell, you know, those kind of gigs, R&B gigs, because I knew at a certain point I was going to do these black radio albums and I wanted to cross over and start doing other stuff. So I've made a decision early to start planting those seeds in that world, to start playing more in the R&B world, in the jazz, in the hip hop world. So fast forward, 2009, Maxwell comes back with this big tour, Pretty Wings, the album, all that kind of stuff. Asked me to go on tour with him as his piano player. I had to make a decision because I just put out my own record, and I had to make a decision to either go on tour with my record or go on Maxwell's tour. So I chose to go on Maxwell's tour. Because I'm a businessman, I knew that in order for me to cross over, you have to kind of be known in the area you're going to cross over in to some extent. You know what I mean? That's the whole thing of a crossover is that it comes from basketball. That's what I said. You know, I like the basketball analogy. When you're crossing over to the other hand, you're equally as good the other hand. That's what makes the crossover so effective. But some people try to cross over into another genre that doesn't know them. So I said, let me not go on another jazz tour on my own. Let me go on tour with Maxwell so I can be seen in front of that R&B audience and live in that world for a few years. So then when I put out my Black Radio album, which is going to be an R&B album, I'm already kind of known in that world. I chose to go on the Maxwell tour because I knew I wanted to cross over at some point and do this crossover album into the R&B world. And if I do my own jazz tour, I'm just preaching to the choir and doing jazz stuff, you know, and I want to cross over. So I had to make that really, really important decision. Even though the people in the jazz world were like, oh, you know, you got to do your own thing and don't sell out and you got to do you. I was like, no, it makes sense for me to do this. You know what I mean? So when I did that, I went to Maxwell for like 3 years in that world. So then when I did my Black Radio album, you know, I was much more known at that point in the R&B world. Because after Maxwell shows, he would say, Robert Glasper's on piano, he has albums out, you know, so people knew I was on stage. And fast forward, you know, I got nominated for R&B album. Funny thing is, Max got nominated for R&B Album of the Year for that record we were touring, and he won. The very next year, I was nominated for R&B Album of the Year with Black Radio, and I won. So, there you go.
I want Kendrick Lamar to be remembered as, when it's all done and over with, somebody that was a leader in the city, didn't follow no rules, put people that was under me, kids that was under me in a situation where, you know, they can do better for themselves instead of following the same lasting cycle of this situation where it's tearing down the city.
To win a Grammy on like a Stevie Wonder song is just so excellent to me. And both of the Grammys that I've won have been for covers of songs that I've been singing all my life. And so I was really proud to be a part of that.
He runs by and he says something crazy to my background singer. We heard him say it, but it was like a blur. So we kind of stopped and we looked and we said, yeah, whatever. And we kept on. So we're talking and this dude runs by again. This time he smacks my background singer on her ass.
Man, we worked so hard on that music, bro. For it never to really come out, I went through a whole 2 years of just fuck it. I didn't go to the studio, I didn't want to do anything.